I hold so many town halls to ask questions and to hear from you.
Representative Abigail Spanberger held a town hall. People had the chance to ask Spanberger questions.
Your concerns guide my work. More funding for law enforcement, helping middle-class families make ends meet, cutting taxes for small businesses.
Spanberger was there to listen.
She's ranked one of the most bipartisan members of Congress.
I'm Abigail Spanberger, and I approve this message.
Spanberger is accountable.
And she acted on my concerns.
And I totally believe I can trust her.
Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger of Virginia is vying to keep her seat in one of the most competitive congressional races in the country right now. She's facing off against Republican Yesli Vega in the state's 7th congressional district, a swing district that both parties consider key to determining who will control the House of Representatives. Joining me now is former CIA officer, Democratic Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger. Congresswoman, welcome back to the Sunday Show.
Thank you for having me on.
Sure. So both parties are investing a lot of attention and money on your race. What do you think will be the deciding factor for voters?
Well, I hear from voters every day the deciding factors. The deciding factors are the real challenges that people continue to face: the cost of prescription drugs, the cost of food at the meat counter, the overall challenges in people's lives, and certainly who is listening to them. And you know, that's why I feel good about where we are. I've been engaged across our district since I was first elected in 2018, across some of the new counties we've gained through redistricting, accountable, working on legislation that matters to the people that I represent, and working directly for them.
So you've focused not only on public safety, but helping middle-class families and protecting abortion rights. Where do you stand on these issues compared to your Republican opponent?
Well, supporting middle-class families, small business owners, you know, this is about having solutions and ideas when we're facing continued challenges because of the pandemic, the continued, cost at the grocery store. I led legislation to lower the cost of food and lower the cost of gas. That passed the House with bipartisan support. I've been focused on supply chain issues. We've passed the CHIPS and Science Act, and I've been communicating to voters, these are steps. They're not going to solve the problem in a day, but these are the steps I've been taking to be responsive to your needs. On abortion, I support a woman's right to choose. I don't think that the government should be mandating what a woman does with her body. And my opponent has been very clear in her desire for a nationwide ban on abortion, and she's even questioned whether or not a woman can get pregnant from rape. And someone who has kind of basic challenges with the understanding of biology of pregnancy has no place making decisions about the rights of others from the halls of the United States Capitol.
How much are you hearing about the Dobbs decision and abortion and a fear of a nationwide ban on the campaign trail?
I hear about it a lot. And from Democrats, independents, people who, classify themselves as Republicans, there's a couple things. There's the actual Dobbs decision. There's the stunning reality that almost 50 years worth of Supreme Court precedents is gone away. And so there are people who are worried for themselves, for their families, for their children, for their daughters. I have heard from voters saying, my daughter had an ectopic pregnancy. What would have happened in that circumstance if she were in a state like Texas? Would she have had catastrophic kind of cascading medical problems because at that hospital they wouldn't have been able to render her the medical care that they need? So the people who are talking about this issue, I mean, it's unlike anything that I've seen in my prior two elections.
And one more question real quickly for you. You've criticized Speaker Pelosi over the handling of a bill on stock trading, and you've called for new leadership in the House. That was on Friday. I think it was on Friday or at the end of the week. Tell me why you think that's necessary, and how do you think this will resonate with voters?
I've been focused on the issue of banning lawmakers from trading individual stocks since the early days of the pandemic, when there was report after report of members of Congress, buying these pharmaceutical stocks and really outperforming the market at a time when the country was in crisis. This is one of the most basic, understandable things that we can do at a point in time when the very foundation of our democracy is shaky. People don't necessarily trust their elected officials. We have the ability to say, I am making decisions for you. I am not making decisions for my stock portfolio. And it's so straightforward. It matters to people. I hear about it across my district. It's something I believe in passionately. And over the past 6 months to a year, we have seen House leadership, specifically the Speaker, sort of punt on this issue, recognizing the importance it has to voters, but not being willing to actually take steps forward to move this legislation, sort of giving the impression that we were going to and then ultimately not doing it. And this matters certainly across my district to voters. It matters to constituents. And I think it ultimately matters to our requirement to restore the faith that the American people have in their elected officials.